Hello and a very warm welcome to Real Talk this evening. I am Anele Mdoda. So from ballet to theatre and eventually onto one of the biggest reality singing competition stages in the country, she's now a sought-after singer and songwriter hitting all the right notes with her debut album Rose Gold, 6-time SAMA nominee at this year's event, which takes place on June the 2nd. Shekhinah is with us a little bit later on the show, but first, when you've spent more than 15 years making it your business to know the ins and the outs of what drives news in our country, the continent, and the world as a whole, you have earned your stripes and you really can be called a seasoned journalist. From the Shabir Sheikh trial early on in his career to the recall of former President Thabo Mbeki and the most recent change of power with the election of the country's newest president, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he has seen it all. He brings you your daily roundup of national and international news, debates to set the tone for your morning on SAFM Sunrise. Please welcome journalist, commentator, broadcaster, and really, because I know this personally, all-round nice guy, Grootes.
Anele, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Good to see you.
Excited to be here, I have to say.
Thank you. Do you think you had to leave 702 to come to SABC before you got on here?
Well, I mean, there wasn't anything I wouldn't have done. You know, just to,
All right.
It is 15 minutes of something.
18 minutes, according to my schedule here. But Anna, I want to go and take you back to your school days. Apparently, you were quite naughty.
Well, I didn't sit in the front of the class. But the one thing that I always knew is I could tell when the teacher was, you know, there's a moment.
The threshold.
That threshold.
Yeah.
I mean, is break the wrong word, but that moment where you can, and you know when to push it and when to pull back. And I was that guy. Like I knew when to just so getting close and then pull back. And then the other thing that I love doing, and I suppose you could say that I'm still like this. Yeah. Is I just want to ask the one question the teacher can't answer. Oh. You know, and you.
So what would you do? Would you go home and read everything before?
Everything, all the time, and just so boring. You know, the nerd who sat in the back of the class but got terrible marks.
Yeah.
That was me. And I must say the thing about it though was that it was fun knowing stuff. Like it was fun, although I could never do anything with it until I realized that journalism was a thing.
But also, you're saying you suppose you still do the whole thing of asking a question that they can't answer.
Yes.
The former as well, you still do that where you push somebody right before they walk out, and then you pull back and become friends again.
Yes, like I mean, I spoke to Edward Zuma today on SAFM Sunrise, and you know, you take it to quite a level, and he said things which I mean I can't believe to be true, and were later shown to not be. And so you get him really close, and then you say, Mr. Zuma, thank you so much for talking to me. And he has to say, I mean, I always say the best thing about what I get to do is I get to be really rude to people. And at the end, they have to say thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephen, for your time. Thank you, Stephen, for your time.
Yes.
And do you think you wanted to become a zookeeper?
Well, of course.
Why? How?
Because it's fun, because you get to see animals, because you get to stroke them. And, you know, you didn't have petting zoos when I was young. You weren't able to go inside and actually stroke the animals. And I think certain events recently around lions have shown that that was probably a good idea.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm just like, zoos, it's crocodiles, it's lions, it's cheetahs. I mean, there's no amount of insurance that could cover your behind that would get me to go do that.
No, sure.
Yeah?
I mean, it was something I wanted to do when I was young, and you sort of grew out of it. And I think I realized that the best thing, the absolute best thing about being a journalist in South Africa and what I do now is the stories that you get people to tell you. The absolute, I mean, it's just because we are a country with, you know, so many different stories and so many different types of stories. And and when I realized that you could do that, and that, I mean, you know, I was at university in the mid-1990s. The country was changing completely. And you see these stories for the first time coming to the fore. And I just realized the power of being able to do that. You know, we had John Carney in on SAFM Sunrise last Friday, and the stories that he was telling about being in New Brighton, about meeting Athol Fugard, about performing in a former snake pit in a zoo and calling themselves the Serpent Players. And now he's, you know, he's the king of Wakanda, you know. I mean, that's an incredible story.
Do you feel, because, you know, you say, you know, you were in varsity in the mid-90s and the country was changing.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the country is changing now a lot as well, all the time, only because you're older and you anticipate change and you anticipate the unexpected, that you don't pick up that the country actually is changing at the same pace as it was in the mid-90s?
It's an interesting question. I think it is changing more quickly than people realize.
Yes.
I think you see that in all sorts of ways. And sometimes things, you know, recent things that happened over the weekend take you back and you think, have we changed enough? But I think that kind of incident also wouldn't be happening if people didn't feel as confident as they do now to blow the whistle, to call it, you know, to call it out. And I think what you really are seeing is that the country is changing in a way that my parents probably, or people of my parents' generation, are probably quite astonished by. And it started changing in 1994. I mean, it started changing maybe in 1990 in some ways. But the way in which it's changing has changed as well. So then people were, you know, certain rich areas, white areas, were suddenly open. Now what you're having is that those areas are not just in transition, they're transforming. That's a very different, more difficult, harder, and necessary process.
So not in transition, but transforming. So therefore, not only are the doors open, but people are literally setting up life.
Yes.
Not shop, life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the difference between being young, gifted, black, and able to go to UCT in 1994 and being young, gifted, black, going to UCT in 2016 and removing roads.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Going to UCT and the vice chancellor as a black woman.
Yes, absolutely.
You see.
Those things are, and that's why the arguments, and I mean, I have huge hope. People often come to me and say, how can you be optimistic? And, you know, they look at me and say, how can you be optimistic? And I say, well, you forget that all of this was always going to happen. It had to happen. It must happen. And it's actually happening more quickly in some ways than we might have thought. I mean, I'll give you an example. In 1990, there was one female cabinet minister, one in F.W. de Klerk's last cabinet. Now, half of cabinet. And that happened so quickly, and it'll never go back. And that is the same here. It'll never go back. And that's a good thing.
What conversations were your parents having with you? Because and the reason in the intro I called you an all-round nice guy is because I've shared a building with you on and off for 10 years, but I think fully 10 years. And I've always admired your curiosity around things that you don't understand. You know, as soon as something happens, you don't quickly look for opinion. You first look to see what is your place inside of that story. And from which side should your angle come and your opinion come. And to me, that speaks to somebody who was taught unlearning, because unlearning is a buzzword in the last 3 years, right? But the action isn't. You were taught unlearning at a very young age. So what conversations were your parents having with you?
Don't judge. Straight off, don't judge. Life isn't fair. And the reason that life isn't fair, I'm the eldest of 3 boys. I mean, you can imagine the fights over everything from bicycles to cricket bats to all
Remote
of it.
control.
Yeah, entirely. Didn't have them. And the thing about life not being fair makes you realize that when life isn't fair, the outcomes aren't fair, the starting points aren't fair, and you realize and that's the starting point in a way of what is it like for someone else. So for me, my hair's never been political. Okay? At school, I was told to cut it in a certain way, and I kind of, apart from a few years at university when it really did go down to there, I've kind of kept it the same. But for other people, going maybe the first of their families to go into certain institutions, it's intensely political. Of course it is. It's about control of a body. And once you realize that you should never judge and just ask, and I think, I wonder, you know, something's happened in the journalistic space around the world in the last few years where people are paid to give opinion, and that's fine, I understand that, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but there isn't necessarily enough attention being given to the journalistic function of getting facts. And something I'm really passionate about, and we're doing it on SAFM, is starting a conversation, and a mediated conversation. So a conversation where it's not, I'm not going to call it a safe space, that can cause other problems, but it is a conversation where you can say, listen to this, and you will get an understanding of an entire issue from different viewpoints, rather than the presenter just going and saying, this is what I think.
So over his 16-year career, Stephen has been front and center at some of the most defining news stories of our political time. This includes interviewing presidents, ministers, and members of cabinet. But is there a prominent figure he's interviewed where he still beats himself up because he left a question on the table and he never got to ask it? We'll find out from him after the break. Stay with us. And welcome back to Real Talk with Anele right here on SABC3. The stage is yours. When you've put a total of 16 years at an independent radio station, 702, with 10 of those years spent at the station's news center, Eyewitness News, and you've been in the pilot seat of the breakfast show, the afternoon drive, as well as the current affairs show, the midday report, it would be hard for the place to not feel like home. But in March this year, Stephen decided to resign from his home to begin a new venture as the host of SAFM Sunrise, a new breakfast show at SAFM. Seasoned journalist, political commentator, and broadcaster Stephen Grootes is our guest today. How difficult was that decision?
Yeah, it was difficult, hey? You know, you say 702 was home. It absolutely was.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched half the people get married there. You know, I started at 702 as a young man living in a house in Brixton in central Joburg with like nothing, you know, with some mates, you know, in a house share. I left 702, married, 2 children, one of them already at primary school. Yeah, like, you know, all of this going on. And so much had changed, and the constant had been the same people, and the people had changed, but I felt like home. And you know, you would walk in, and I mean, the team, the Eyewitness News team is wonderful, as you know, and I miss them terribly. But the thing that really made it for me was that SAFM has the potential to reach the entire country, and I feel so passionately about this.
Yes.
This is a conversation, the reason that the conversation feels like it does, right, the country feels like it does, because I think a lot of people thought if Nasrec goes a certain way, that's the end of feeling like that.
Yeah.
But because the whole conversation for 5 years had been about one person, about then President Jacob Zuma, he was now gone, and all of the conversations we should have been having, racialized inequality, land, all of these things, we haven't had. Now suddenly there's space for them. So of course they come up. But to be able to be involved in mediating those conversations on SFM across the entire country, where you can take a call from someone who literally is a mother in Umlazi whose daughter works as a domestic worker in Sandhurst, and then the madam from Sandhurst will be listening. That's the kind of power that you have on a radio station like SFM.
So do you almost feel like you're now providing more of a service? Because I always tell people about this show. I was like, I love it because it's a service, you know. Yes, it's TV and it's nice to be able to sit with you, but I feel when I'm here talking about lupus, you know, it's a service.
It absolutely is, and it's something that, you know, people say it's important to do certain things well because you want to be seen to be da-da-da-da-da. It's important to do this well.
Yeah.
It really is important to get the right, to get people to tell their stories, to tell their sides of an argument. It's really important. There are moments that are crucial, you know. You can do an interview with someone that can change the outcome of an event. You can have an interaction with someone that leads to a discussion that actually leads to some sort of change in other people's lives, or a change in policy. And that's over and above the role of informing people. And of course, radio being free, you know, or virtually free, makes it even more important. You know, you can be as informed with very little money as someone who is incredibly rich.
Yeah.
And that's the power of radio.
I understand Grootes Mantashe is one of your favorite interviews.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so give me your favorite interview and give me your, my Lord, I wish that had never happened moment.
Well, I think the my Lord, it never happened moment probably involved Mac Maharaj, who once
your
or
book
twice.
launch.
Well, you know, you were going to go there. So I mean, stupid, but I asked if he would interview me, and he just had me for breakfast, you know. But what I loved about Mac Maharaj and interviewing him was that no matter how well prepared you could be, he would always just be better.
Slippery.
Just
slippery.
But what he also did, which so few spin doctors do, is that he would phone me when a story was happening, and I would be doing this and this and this. And he'd phone and he'd say, Stephen, this is off the record, but have you thought about this, this, and this? I'll just leave that with you. And I'm like, why don't other spin doctors do that? You have all our numbers.
He's in touch.
Just keeps in touch. You know, how do you feel about this? Or we're thinking of doing this. I think it might end like this. You know, like you feel like you're part of it, even if it's just to puff you and make you feel important.
But also it's nice because, you know, you could have been traveling this way in your thought, and then he just gives a little nudge on the axis, then you just move this way, and it could actually broaden you to, you know, a bigger thought pattern.
Yes.
Favorite interview?
The person I loved interacting with at press conferences time after time was Grootes Mantashe, the Secretary General. I mean, and it's a joke, you know, Stephen Grootes, SG, people call me SG. And I mean, he would be very funny. Once or twice on air, after he became the chair of the ANC, he called me SG, you know. And he was always very kind and gracious, but he also took a joke. You know, I mean, remember, people used to call him the most powerful man in the country. And I think the Nasrec result shows that, by and large, that was true. And he would rip me off and he said, you work for two people, because I write for Daily Maverick as well. And he said, choose Eyewitness News or Daily Maverick. And he was chair of the SACP and Secretary General of the ANC.
And you said, you too?
And I said, you too.
Okay.
And I mean, most politicians would have been furious. He laughed, you know. So I always knew we were going to box and have fun at the same time. And the other person who was always just good to talk to on air and off it is Jackson Mthembu.
Oh.
Man can't lie, hey? Like, can't lie.
Really?
And I love that about him, yeah, and I still love it about him, is that even when he was in trouble, like, you would phone him and he would, you know, he would do whatever had to be done. He would never lie, still won't.
I understand the EFF won't talk to you.
Some parts of it. They have recently.
Really?
Yes, no, very pleased.
Is
yeah.
this SAFM doing?
I think so. I mean, part of it was about the background to that, but you know, so the EFF went through a phase where, and a lot of us who write about politics were sort of being quite critical of them. You know, they trashed H&M, the timing was a bit strange, there were some of the comments made by Julius Malema, the leader, and that led to a thing. But they invited me to their political editors' breakfast a few weeks ago.
And you took your own breakfast?
No, no, they're very, very welcoming, very welcoming. You know, I mean, some people in politics you know in different roles.
Yeah.
So Dr. Mbiaseni Ndlozi, for example, I only know in that role. But Dali Mpofu, who's the chair, I've known as an advocate for many years.
Advocacy of the SABC.
Yes, all of these things.
He's worn many hats, very well at that.
Yes, no, I mean, incredible. And so you know that sometimes you'll have a little bit of a tiff, but maybe you'll come back. And I think that's happened with almost all of the EFF.
I'm glad, because I'm really looking forward to the conversations you're going to have, because you know, you sometimes you work for a certain broadcaster, and I even understand it with where I'm sitting right now, is that certain people don't want to speak to you. There are many musicians who won't come on here sometimes, and I'm still begging, because I feel like their story should be heard. And I'm glad that you're in a different space, and I'm going to be able to hear a different you, right? You know, still with the same excellence and experience and all of that, but you know, I think SFM is offering you, I don't know, something like freedom.
So you know, you're right, and media often follows politics. People get into silos, and that's what happened up until December last year. And I mean, I'm under no illusions about this. I don't think that anyone would have knocked on my door for this job if the result had been different. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. But Bulelani Ngcuka was the man who was involved when he shouldn't have been in the decision to charge Jacob Zuma, as he then was, before he became president in 2007. I waited end of 2007. I waited 11 years to do that interview because he wouldn't come on 702. And eventually he came on SAFM to talk about something else. And I managed to wangle the story in, and he had the perfect grace to laugh and say, Stephen, I knew you would find a way. So that's what SAFM brings, you know. It's just an amazing platform.
So which question do you feel that you've left on the table, and every now and then it haunts you at night? So
you will know there was an interview I did once with Ajay Gupta that was never shown. Bits of it were shown eventually on YouTube. And I think to this day, I kind of want to say, I should have asked him, are you a racist? Because if you look at the evidence now, with the Sun City wedding, all of these things, with the treatment at ANC, the security guards, and some of that I did know, but I just didn't. I don't know why, but I just, you know, there's so many things to ask him, and it was such a precious situation. But that I would have enjoyed just knowing for myself, even if it was never shown, what his face would have said to that. He probably would have said, "No, I'm not. I like Jacob Zuma." But I mean, so I think there's that. And you know, the thing about live radio, and this is what I like about it, enjoy about it, is that it can be amazing and wonderful. You know, it can be breathtaking. But it's never perfect. You could always go back and think, I could have done that. I should have done that. So listen, tomorrow morning we're going to tune into you at SAFM and see if you know if you could have done that and if you could have done that.
but I'm
Yes.
pretty sure that the entire country will enjoy your show. Stephen, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. for this.
SG.
Thank you.
You can catch him every weekday morning on SAFM Sunrise between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. as he takes on some of South Africa's biggest news stories head on. A very, very big thank you to Stephen Grootes. After the break, singer and songwriter Shekhinah joins me for a chat. Amongst her list of accomplishments, she's also performed at 2017's Huawei Joburg Day event. Speaking of Huawei, they're bringing you a chance to win big right here on Real Talk. Here's how.
Real Talk, Huawei and MTN are partnering up to celebrate the release of the new Huawei P20 series. The Huawei P20 Pro, the world's first triple Leica lens camera, is partnering with MTN, SA's fastest mobile network, to help you capture the best moments with your friends and family. We'll be capturing timeless moments and connecting with people in need while giving you the chance to win the Huawei P20 Pro and 10 gigabytes free once-off MTN data. So tune into Real Talk for your chance to win.
Suited for each other. Listen, welcome back to Real Talk with Anele right here on SABC 3. The stage is yours. What a tune, man. Like many before her, she fancied her chances on season 7 of South Africa's preeminent reality singing competition. After being stopped in her tracks at the top 32 stage, she decided she wasn't done proving herself and returned in the 8th season to make it all the way to the top 6. But it's what happened since the show that's been really impressive. She teamed up with hot producer Sketchy Bongo and fellow singer Carl Deutsch to produce the magical Back to the Beach, followed quickly by another hit, Let You Know. It wasn't long before she'd caught the attention of international house DJ Black Coffee, which led to a 2016 collaboration with the release of the single Your Eyes that would set the scene for a 2017 pairing with American singer Jason Derulo on the Coke Studio reality show. We welcome onto the show South Africa's songbird, South Africa's sweetheart, South Africa's talent. Welcome, Shekhinah.
Ah, thank you so much.
Do you feel that just everyone wants to hug you because you're just so adorable? There is just nothing bad about you. Everyone just wants to be like, oh, Shekhinah.
Yes, I'm like I'm like a baby,
Yes.
a child. Yeah, sometimes I guess, yeah.
And do you not hate it that we constantly want to mother you? Just like I am a grown-ass
Yes.
person.
Yes, that happens a lot. But I guess there's two sides to me. There's that baby side, which is so real. And then there's like, no, I'm 23 now, guys. I make the decisions now. Yeah, those two aspects, yeah.
And what must you do for people to take you seriously? Do you have to like make your voice stern? Do you have to like stand up? Do you have to pound on tables? You know, what's the process?
I think for me, the process is I stop speaking, because when I speak, I feel like I get manipulated, or I'm like, you know, someone can say something and I'm like, you know what, just email me or text me. Don't speak to me, just say what you want to say so that I can calculate my response or have a look over it instead of emotionally responding
Because I suppose because you've got the type of disposition that you have, it's difficult for you to say no.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So who says no for you, if not on text and email?
I do it for myself. I do it for myself, yeah. I've been saying no for myself for a while now, yeah.
What's a while? 3 years, 8 years, 12 years?
I'd say 3 years, 4 years, yeah.
And did it feel good the first time you said no and weren't apologetic for saying no?
It did. It really did. It felt good when you say no and you don't know if it's going to work out, but then eventually, months later, it was the right thing. Then you, yeah.
Because I always tell people that no is a complete sentence.
That's so beautiful. Yeah.
Because I also found that when when I say no, then you want to explain why you said no. No, because, you know, my dog's going into the vet and, you know, my cat's doing this. I don't have a dog or a cat. But
You have to explain yourself.
yeah. And you stopped that.
Yeah, I've stopped that now because I mean, I'm really bad. I'm really bad with saying no face to face or on the phone or, so yeah, I just preferred if it's anything that's really important, if it's important to you, then you can put it in words somewhere where I can read it, yeah.
Let me tell you something more important. I was in America and I'm at a spa and I'm doing my nails and it's a spa just full of Asian women. No, they don't speak English. You know, we're pointing at, can I, you know, you're pointing at things and there's music playing and then the next thing your song comes on.
Oh, goodness.
Let you know. And they all just kind of buffing our feet. And obviously they don't speak English. And I was like, wow, Shekhinah. Wow, I am knee deep in the Big Apple and you found a way to find me.
Oh, thank you.
When would you say you realized that, okay, now I'm a real singer, now I'm an artist?
I think it was after Let You Know, definitely, which was, I don't know, 2015.
Yeah.
I mean, so many things had happened since then that kind of would be like, yes, you are real, you can do this. But after Let You Know, I think I was like, okay, no, I've done it again. It wasn't a fluke for me. I must do this for real and I must think about it properly.
What did Back to the Beach do for you? If Let You Know solidified yourself in terms of being an artist, Back to the Beach, what did it do?
I think Back to the Beach, it did that. It kind of said, I'm an artist, you're great, everyone loves this. But I didn't believe it, you know? I was in disbelief, I think, for a long time. And I needed to prove to myself that I could do it again. I'm just that person. I don't take people's word for it.
Good.
I need to take my own word for it. So once I did Let You Know again, I think that's when I was like, okay, I changed the bio. I did the necessary things. Okay, singer, songwriter. But yeah.
Where were you the first time you heard your song play on radio?
Oh, probably. I was alone in my first car, in my Skoro from college, and I was driving home from college, I think from rehearsals, late night, and I was very annoyed, and I remember they played Back to the Beach, and yeah, it blew my mind, yeah.
Do you not try to signal the other cars to be like, hey, yo!
No.
This is me!
No, never. No. Only if it's the Uber driver or if I'm in, and I'm like, hey, this is me.
Like, just in case you're wondering.
No, I try to do that, but then, you know, usually they're like, okay.
That's great, just give me 5 stars.
Yeah.
And to think, I mean, Stephen was on earlier and he wanted to be a zookeeper and now he's a breakfast jock at SAFM. You here and you wanted to be a ballerina.
Oh, goodness. The dream.
What was it about it? I tried ballet. I went for one lesson.
You see, you tried it.
One lesson.
Oh, okay.
One lesson. Do you know I left because they said the shoes are 90 rand? I'm like, no, guys, like Nipamben.
Yeah, the gear was expensive.
Right? So for you, what was it about that? And how do you find ways to still infiltrate it in what you do now?
First of all, I think it was backstage and Spice Girls' fault that I wanted to do the whole thing. And I think for me it was just really like, I was always obsessed with the stage and being on stage. And I just felt like dancing was the best way to express yourself on stage because it was so technical. And I just want to do the things that apparently you can't do, you know? So that was why I always felt like ballet was a thing until the doors literally were like, no, you can't do this.
Why could you not do it? Were you like chubby?
Yes! That's the only reason. It was getting awkward at the bar. The ballet teacher had to tell my mom she needs to leave the class. And that was in grade 8. I pushed it till grade 8. From grade 2, it was too much.
But wait, because most mothers would just make you lose weight, you know?
My mom tried. She tried. My mom tried. Everybody that knows me that well know. She tried the diet. I love food. I ate behind her back like a crazy person.
Yeah.
people would come up to her after the shows and be like, your daughter's really great, you know, we feel like she should lose weight, and this is the thing for her, and she tried, and I wasn't losing the weight. It was obviously not for me, but I was still knocking on the door like a crazy person. Jumping, my leg could never, because I had back fat or whatever this role is, my leg could never fully lift up like all the other girls' legs. Oh, it was so sad, man.
But it's fine, because you know what? Now the ballerinas are doing what? Dancing to your songs.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, amen. In 2016, Shekhinah had to submit an album as part of her final exams as a music student in college, right? So how does a music student keep from growing a big head when she's already got hits on every single radio station in the country, but she's still in class? We'll find out after the break. Welcome back to Real Talk with Anele on SABC 3. The stage is yours. While Shekhinah was still a student of music in college, she was already impressing fans and industry peers alike. In 2016, she received a SAMA nomination for a smash single with Carl Dutch, Back to the Beach, a Metro of M nomination for the same song, and walked away with the Mama Award. That's an MTV award, y'all, for Best Pop and Alternative category. This year, industry pundits are calling her the one to beat, with a total of 6 SAMA nominations. These include Best Pop Album, Best Album of the Year, as well as Best Female Artist of the Year. These are the ones, right? So there you are in college. Now you must submit an album as your final project, right? But you already have Back to the Beach playing on radio stations. So when you're given this project, are you like, yeah, I got this?
No, it was a trip. We had to hand in 40 songs. Anele, 40 songs. Back to the Beach was one, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was one like, woo.
Yeah.
40 songs. 40 songs we had to hand in so that they could say yes or no and pick 5 from the 40 that they liked. Can you ever? So it was a bit of a struggle for me, but I really needed that because I didn't know that that was preparing me to make a compilation, you know, that I kind of assumed was an album, and I had a title for it. It was called In and Out of Character, and I had a theme, and I had, you know, everything going for it, and I wasn't happy with the outcome. I wasn't happy with the album cover. I wasn't happy with the choice of songs, and I knew from there, from that outcome, that I had to work extra hard when I was doing this for my actual album in real life, you know. So school was actually really cool for me in the sense that it gave me the opportunity to test run everything that I needed to do in the industry, you know, because when you go to film school or art school, it mimics the industry and life. So I kind of had the opportunity to do that, you know, to be like, okay, this failed, and now I have 5 songs that I like out of the 40. Which one am I going to use on Rose Gold? Or, you know, I didn't even know what Rose Gold was called. So it was tough, but it was
What
helpful.
did you score for it?
I scored really well.
The highest in the class?
No, 3rd highest.
Who scored the highest?
A girl called Ome. She's actually on the album.
Oh,
Sally.
okay.
Yes,
okay.
yes. She's from Kenya.
Okay.
But she scored the most because of hard work and preparation, not because she had the best songs or because she had the best. You know, she worked hard, she prepared, she had no space, you know, she was just, and that's the things that you need, you know, that you kind of need to see. I need to be challenged. I needed to not have the best show in college. I needed to be like, okay, I want to make sure I have the best album when I'm out of college.
That's quite interesting because now I would say you are one of the most meticulous artists when it comes to your sound, right? In fact, many would argue, and really high people in the industry, that you kind of forced the music industry to elevate in terms of sound. Do you accept that?
I accept it in the sense for females. I think for females, I kind of gave that opportunity, or kind of showed that it's possible for you to do R&B pop, you know, and kind of be like, we can do it to the best of our abilities. We can collaborate with, you know, I feel like I did that, but I had so much help from other people.
Yeah.
That's why the summers are very interesting for me this year, in the sense that the competition is so beautiful and so great. I appreciate that, you know. I appreciate that it's a year where females are dominating, you know, versus any other year where I'd be up against a male. I feel honored to be like, okay, we are all changing the game here, you know. Like, this person is doing Afropunk New York. This person has six number ones, and it's her first album. This person, Busis, was been in the industry. She's still, it feels dope to be amongst those people and be one of them, you know? Yeah.
And I heard your obsession when you were growing up was just to move to Joburg.
Yes.
That's all you wanted to do. You just wanted to move to Joburg.
Yes.
When you get here, do you take to it like a fish in the water, or is it a bit jarring for you? Because I sometimes feel your dreams can be jarring a bit when you get into your dream and you realize, whoa, this is not what I wanted.
100%. Like, I'll give you an example. When I moved to Joburg, I thought I had everything together. I thought I could just email Anele and ask her what she thinks of my song, and ask her to, you know, Anele, please push this song for me. And I thought that, cool, I did a show. I know people, I can make it happen. But I never realized that it was actually up to me to make it happen. Even though I could send it to you and you could like the song, which you did, and you replied, and thank you for that, by the way. It's not enough. I needed to do the work. So Joburg was such a rude awakening for me, in the sense that I knew that, flip, it's not as easy as I thought it would be. And that's why I had to go to college, because I was still so young. I was only 18, so my dad was like, okay, well, you've sat in Joburg for a year. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna do it for another year? And I was like, okay, fine, I'll go to SAFTA, I'll study, I'll do something. And then all of that experience, going back to school and kind of feeling like an underdog, and walking into the hall and immediately being told, oh, there's that girl that didn't make it from Idols, and being asked to explain and to kind of be an example to people on how it's not that easy. Ask Shekhinah. Yeah, that's what it was like. And I needed that to ride back to the beach and to speak about how I felt like the city didn't feel me. I needed that experience to push me to do that. So it's weird. Yeah.
But when this is happening and you're being made an example of failure,
yes,
right?
I was.
You know, at that point in time, no one is saying, no one is calling it not getting it right. They're calling it failure. Look at her, she failed, now she's here.
Yeah.
So watch yourself as well.
100%.
Do you not feel like, guys, but I've suffered enough? Do you not know I was adopted?
Yelling, I'm a victim.
I am a victim, good people.
Dude.
Do you not feel that I have had enough hardship in my life? You know, why now this as well?
Yeah, it was horrible, but I had to go through it. And at the time I expected it, and I kind of, in my mind, I knew I wanted to prove everyone wrong, but I kind of was also taking it in and internalizing that and being like, okay, Shek, you know, you are a failure. And I was kind of living in that, and I'm like, okay, let me go to school. Let me just do my thing, and let me listen to my teachers. Let me feel like, you know, let me not boss up at school. Let me not say too much. But, you know, it kind of was a good thing for me. It put me in that space because I needed to go through that in order to be prepared for right now, you know. And it was okay, you know, being adopted, it was okay. I needed to be adopted so that I wasn't an orphan or not Shekhinah and not inspiring people today. That thing needed to happen, you know. The lady that gave birth to me needed to make that decision. She needed to go through her situation where she couldn't afford, or whatever it was, to keep a baby. So she needed to do that, and she didn't know why she needed to do that. But I know why she needed to do that sitting here today, you know? It was for a greater purpose. And it's just, it's so crazy. And I'm learning to go through these hard things and be like, here we are in it. Let's just go through it. There's a lesson here somewhere, even though I can't see it right now, you know? So yeah, that was, yeah.
This is why I just want to hug her. I just want to give her a hug. As we get ready to wrap up our conversation with Shekhinah, how about I remind you of your chance to win with Huawei? If you'd like to get your hands on one of the new Huawei P20s, whoa, what a phone, then pay attention to this.
Real Talk, Huawei and MTN are partnering up to celebrate the release of the new Huawei P20 series. The Huawei P20 Pro, the world's first triple Leica lens camera, is partnering with MTN, SA's fastest mobile network, to help you capture the best moments with your friends and family. We'll be capturing timeless moments and connecting with people in need while giving you the chance to win the Huawei P20 Pro and 10 gigabytes free once-off MTN data. So tune into Real Talk for your chance to win.
And welcome back to Real Talk right here on SABC 3. The stage is yours. We are in conversation with singer, songwriter, wanted to be actor, nominated 6 times for Summer this year, Shekhinah. In her own words, Shekhinah described the end of 2017 as a full circle moment when she got the chance to entertain fans in preparation for international R&B sensation John Legend. He performed in Durban and Johannesburg in November last year. But no sooner had she ended 2017 on a high, 2018 began on the same note. Shekhinah's debut album, Rose Gold, enjoyed the success of chart-topping single Suited. By the time Shekhinah released the second single, Please Mister, the album had been certified gold with more than 15,000 copies sold. Who calls you to tell big numbers like that?
Jade.
Okay.
Someone from Sony calls me.
Yeah, and they're just like, girl, where do we send the lobster and champagne?
Yeah. It's quite exciting, I think. We have a really good connection I have with Sony and how we work. And they kind of just call me and they're like, okay, we just need to have a status update. You know, it's January, just find out what your plans are so that we can, you know, make sure they happen. So I'm like, cool, I'll come through. They're like, oh, come through with your dad. I'm like, okay, cool. Come through, and then there's like plaques and champagne. And I didn't know, and yeah, and it's amazing. We really didn't expect any of it. But now it's set a bar, so it's awkward now.
I think you find for it. I'll tell you why you find for it, because you yourself said this, that you enjoy collaboration. You understand that a song is never 100% yours, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And as long as you're always willing to live inside a place where you know that you are not the only one who makes it happen, you'll be fine. And I mean, your collaboration with Black Coffee.
Yes.
I mean, Black Coffee's doing songs with Alicia Keys. You know, J-Lo wants him, Drake wants him, and then he says, hey, yo, Shekhinah.
Yeah, weird. Best experience with any producer. Sorry to all my producers, I love you guys. But just because he's such a big hot name globally, and at the time he was just becoming there, and he was so normal and humble and chilled, and I was prepared for the worst, and I was prepared to be subservient, and I was prepared to just be like, whatever but he was not like that. He proved me wrong, and he's dope, he was cool, he was just so swaggy, he was nice, and he was innovative. Like, he listened to the song, and he was like, no, you're singing it wrong, but it was my song. So I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, your verse should be a chorus. He wasn't even really looking at me, but not in the rude way, just he was very zoned in on the beat. He's like, no, your verse should be a chorus. I'm like, my whole verse should be the chorus. And he was like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, let me try it. And I'm like, I would swim forever in your life. And I'm like, okay, cool. I had it all wrong, you know, and I like to be in spaces where I'm wrong, in this, where I can be like, okay, cool. And he did that for me. He changed the verse to the chorus and the chorus to the verse, and the song was amazing.
Became a smash hit.
100%, yeah.
Speaking of smash hits, you got a chance to work with another international star, Jason Derulo. Feast your eyes on this.
They set about creating an original of note with Shekhinah and Falls from Nigeria. The result was the perfect example of global fusion as they created an epic original hit.
Wanna let it get the best of me, but I know. Do it from the first day, worst way. You was always first place. Do it from the first day that I was in the worst place.
So, Jason Derulo, how important is it to not be intimidated by the Black Coffees and the Jason Derulos? Because ultimately, you're going to find yourself, I believe, working with even bigger stars.
Jason Derulo was very, very interesting because I was very nervous. He was very much a superstar. I could not walk, certain places without being told to wait. Jason's walking, yeah, okay, cool.
Please.
I know,
Oh,
it was
please.
horrible. It
Roll
wasn't,
my eyes, Jason.
It wasn't great, but what was dope was when I got into studio finally, after he was like, okay, cool, she can come through now. I went in and, man, I saw a pro working, so I was like, okay, sharp.
Like, okay, forgiven.
Fine.
Fine, I'll walk there.
Fine, you're so amazing, look at you. And I just ended up understanding where he's coming from, in the sense that he's Jason Derulo. And I listened to what he had done, and I was amazed. And I didn't get to spend time with him. I would be lying if I said that I did. But I got to perform with him, and I got to see that that's his element. Because when we were performing, he wanted us to get the performance right. So he was like, look at me, darling, in his little Texas accent.
Darling?
Darling. And he was like, we've got to do this. He's like, don't be shy. So I was very shy. And I was like, okay, cool. We ended up doing the performance, and I ended up realizing that next time I'm around someone of his caliber, I must not be nervous, because I do myself the disservice, not him or anyone else. And that was a good show and a good performance, but from my end, could have been 10 times better. And I don't want to ever play myself like that again, So it gets intimidating because, they tell you can't walk here. Jason doesn't want you in the studio right now. And
Don't flash,
don't
he can hear
flash.
you. Listen, what I do like, and in closing, about what you just said, is you said next time.
Oh,
Answer something like that. So you know there's going to be a next time, and we know there's going to be a next time.
Thank you.
Please take all the summers this year.
Thank you so
We
much.
are fully behind you.
Thank you
We
very
love you
much.
to bits.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you so much to Shekhinah. Thank you so much to Stephen Grootes, who was on earlier. He's the SFM Breakfast Show host. Once again, totally supporting her and her 6 nods at the Summers. Tomorrow, we continue our focus on Africa Month as we welcome political commentator, self-proclaimed disruptor of peace and author Haji Muhammad Davji. We'll also be talking about her book, Sorry Not Sorry, Experiences of a Brown Woman in a White South Africa. You cannot miss it. I'm currently reading the book. It is fascinating. We out of here. The team also says goodbye. Isidingo's up next. Bye-bye.